Well, I have missed you all a lot. Hi, good evening. May 4th was quite an exciting day. I want to thank 410 so far friends or people I don't know for wishing me birthday congratulations, a milestone 76. And also, you are all saved. Just because you're not going to see me on my timeline, I managed to put you on my iPad in a file that wouldn't interfere with our readings, because now I still want to keep my posts and my readings from my book all on one page, so you don't, get confused. But every one of you, 410, you are saved. Your emojis are beautiful. Some of you had ones that sang and sparkled and everything else. Thank you so much for remembering my day. I wish 400 of you would now start going on and listen to me read. But I want to say thank you. I am going to be starting chapter 15 today at some point. Chapter 15 is long-term plans, short-term goals. I think many of you can relate to that in life in general, but also with the way we've lived the last couple of years. Even now, though things seem to be better, you can make long-term plans to go on a trip this summer, and eventually you might not be able to afford it because of the inflation. So for me, it took on a different note because Jeff was so ill. But if you can relate, as I say, most of my chapters, as intense and as difficult as some may be, you could relate if you chose to not look at it as, don't feel sorry for me. I'm giving you information. I'm educating you. I'm informing you. Look at it that way. So we will get into that at some point. But I am going to back up and just give you a little bit of the previous one, chapter 14, which was a beauty. That one had everybody crying. Facing my fears and future as a widow. Got that one down real good. So I'm going to back up and give you a little bit of that one, then we'll move on to this other. We're making great progress. Just think, after this book, we have the hospice one of 24 stories to go through. I can keep this up for a very long time. I hope you can, because I appreciate every single one of you. So let me back up now into 14. It says here, on January 11th, 1969, so when we got married, I made my unconditional commitment to you, to Jeffrey. I made the decision to love you with all my heart and soul for the rest of my life. It wasn't a duty or an obligation. It was a choice. I would have compromised anything to keep you in my life, and I would have done whatever I had to do in order to make our marriage work. My marriage was difficult, but I stressed it was mine. My life with you was turbulent, but it was my life. Hi, Keish. I knew if my marriage was not successful, our enduring friendship would have been strong enough to keep us together. We had been strong enough to keep us together. We both knew we were worth the extra effort, and we would never have given up on each other. I can honestly tell you now, Jeff, I know you would never have left me. I remember joking with you dozens of times, stating why I knew you would never leave me. You loved my cooking and the way I did your laundry, especially your shirts. I kidded you about this and many other things until now. There was a time when he used to pay to have his shirts, done. He didn't like the way he did them. He went through half a dozen laundries. And then he finally, I started ironing them. But I used to charge him. I charged him $2 a shirt. If he could have charged the laundry with shirts, I used to charge my husband to iron his shirts. I'd take out a couple of beers, and I'd put on a soap opera, and I'd charge him $2 a shirt. He was thrilled. Those days are over, believe me. I don't even have an ironing board or an iron. And you had to feel the same way because you were the one, Jeff, having the sexual encounters with men. You had many opportunities to leave me, but you always chose to come back. And though it was horribly difficult, I learned how to accept your homosexual desires as a part of our lifestyle. And I understood your passions and your needs. You know, I never felt threatened or felt like I had to compete with these men. They were temporary partners who came and went in and out of your life. You were two ships passing in the night. But what will I do without our friendship? Because that is the one thing we always shared that I could count on. I will miss the friendship the most. And I would say that, I will say that if you don't have the friendship with your spouse or your partner, you'll never make your marriage work. Because the marriage is just a doctrine. That's what I made it to God. But my friendship is what kept us together. We're almost done with this chapter. On June 19th, 1992, a part of me buried you along with your diagnosis. Though I feel like I am dying along with you, I know I am not. Tonight, my darling, as the fireworks lit up a moonlit sky, and that was on July 4th, 1992, when I got him home, I asked for your guidance, your support, I'm all chilled, and your reassurance. As it had been throughout our marriage, you were right. You told me what I needed to hear, and I am hopeful and comforted by the faith you have in me. You made me believe that one day I would be all right. I was afraid to ask you my question because of what I would hear. But as I lie awake in my bed tonight, now we're flipping over to 94. Remember, my book goes back and forth. It's a journal. It's a documentary. It's one day's this, one day that, and you're flipping around. But as I lie awake in my bed tonight, I know that I will slowly adjust. Hear me, people. I will settle into a new life with different people, places, and things. And my goddaughter's listening to this right now because I never would have met her. I will go on as others have done before me. I will learn to do my future without the man I was accustomed to sharing my life with. But I know I will be all right if I take the time to let the time take care of me. You were my partner, my friend, and my forever love. What will I do without you? I will do all right because you will always be with me. That's why I always get chilled when I read my book, because I know it's Jeff's spirit is all around me right now. And the other thing is, never speak to someone. I learned this in hospice. Never speak to someone who is still alive as if they are already gone. I may have written in my journals that he was gone, or what I was dealing with, or that he was going to die, or that this was hard. But I never, when I was with him, lying next to him in bed, or holding him, or doing whatever I needed to do for him, he was always there. He was in the positive. He was in the present. Don't ever talk to anybody in the past until they take their last breath. Because if there's one sense that the doctors will tell you that's left and that's last, it's the sense of hearing. That's why people in comas, they say read to them, talk to them, and people will do it constantly, and people come out of their comas. But I'm telling you, don't ever, what you write is personal, but do not ever talk to somebody who's still alive as if they're gone. They're not. Now, stay with me, folks, because this one's a beauty here, because you can relate to COVID, you can relate to inflation, you can relate to anything you want. But here's chapter 15. Long-term plans, short-term goals. Isn't that life in a way? I didn't look at it that way then. I was looking at an illness. But think about that. How many times have you made plans and you thought, oh, this is going to be perfect? And 24 hours before or after, 24 hours before, or 12 hours before, or an hour before, something happened and you couldn't. You must learn to try to live in the present best you can. Sure, you can make your plans, but you better have some contingencies because life changes on a dime. Quote, chapter 15, many times, and I have so many great quotes in here, I should write a book of quotes. Quote, many times I didn't know if the truth was a lie or the lie was the truth. Quote, end quote, Susan Lee Mintz. Let me say that one again because I don't even know if I understand it. Quote, many times I didn't know if the truth was a lie or the lie was the truth. End quote. That's pretty intense. I got a lot of intense stuff in this book. Dear Jeff, my diary. I'm always looking up because I'm checking the clock. I don't want to keep you, but this is going to get rough for a lot of you. If anything, it has some of the easiest stuff to go through. We faced the demanding challenges of your illness for 2 years. We succeeded because we never stopped compromising as problems and obstacles came our way. We learned that making plans, making them, would still be easy, but having them turn out the way we expected or anticipated would be another matter. Something once simple and fun now became extremely difficult or nearly impossible. We had to radically change our perception of what long-term versus short-term meant. The words daily living now, the words daily living now took on a cruel and brutal new meaning. Planning something 3 months in advance might have to be canceled within 24 hours because without warning, we could be faced with a crisis or medical emergency. If you are ever faced with a long-term illness and something can go on for 10 to 15 years. Long-term is a relative term. To me, long-term was 2 years. But you can make your plans, but without warning, you could be faced with a crisis or medical emergency. We had to evaluate and question everything we wanted to do, and we never had the luxury of really planning long-term again. That's what AIDS did for people who traveled and went everywhere and had tickets for everything. We never changed the plan. Wouldn't matter whether it was snow, sleet, it could have hailed locusts. Jeffrey would have been on that plane and I would have been following him. Nothing would have stopped until he took ill. And when he took ill, we learned how to live day to day and moment to moment as everything around us changed drastically and quickly. And that's what it was about when you're dealing with something like, well, I was with AIDS, let's say, but even if you had COVID, even if you had Parkinson's, if you have Alzheimer's, if you had cancer, I mean, anything can flip you from, all right, we're going to go to Italy in July. Well, the day before your trip to Italy, all the meds something happened to the meds, or the supply chain broke down, or the airline didn't want to take your thing and you got a sick person next to you. Trust me on this one. We learned how to live day to day and moment to moment as everything around us changed drastically and quickly. I'm giving you a cookbook, literally, on what you can expect if you go through this. Here, I called you Daniel Boone because even as a teenager traveling was your passion. You loved planning trips and were always visiting fun and interesting places, whether skiing a challenging mountain or sunning on a distant beach. Oh God, Jeffrey, are you talking to me now? You were different and you were exciting. And he was. I didn't have that. I worked my whole life. My parents, we didn't travel. I didn't have that same life. I wanted what he had. Even when we were friends, I envied his life and his relationship with his parents. After we married, you made it perfectly clear that I was going to be your navigator. You took AAA books and maps to bed, falling asleep with pen and magic marker in hand. You went into a hypnotic state while making our hotel and restaurant reservations. I mean, and this is the truth. He would. This went on. You took AAA books. You'll have to laugh at some of this. Forgot. After we married, you made it perfectly clear I was going to be your navigator, and I was great at reading maps anyway, and I had a great sense of direction. You took AAA books and maps to bed, falling asleep with pen and magic marker in hand. You went into a hypnotic state while making our hotel and restaurant reservations. You planned car trips to California, Seattle, and Canada solely around restaurants, art galleries, and museums, and you bought tickets for everything. This guy planned everything. He wouldn't have taken a group tour to anything. No, he had to map it out. He had to plan it out. He was a gourmand and loves the best food. 5-star restaurants, wherever we were, we had a reservation. Hello, Dr. Mintz, Mrs. Mintz. Yes, your room is ready. Yes, the reservation was ready. I am not exaggerating. You planned car, right? We got to that. We went to Spain on our honeymoon. We visited Caracas, Venezuela, Europe, Mexico, and all the Caribbean islands. I spent 4 wonderful birthdays in a row in Hawaii. And I remember we're on a beach, one of the islands. We saw every one but Molokai, I think. And we were on the big one in Hawaii. It was the last one, was the big island. And he says to me, so what do you want to do next year for your birthday? We're on a beach, sunset, beautiful. 4 years in a row, okay? And from Houston to LAX is still a jaunt. And from LAX to Honolulu, you're not overnight. I mean, you are overnight, so you better be in the executive suites. So anyway, he says to me, he says, so what do you want to do for your birthday next year? I said, Jeffrey, I do not want to go to Hawaii again. I do not want to go to Hawaii. And that conversation ended. We never went back to Hawaii. Here we are. You enjoyed every aspect of traveling, and you love sharing your exciting, adventurous life with me. My biggest decisions were what to wear and how many suitcases to take. And this is when you could travel, all right? This is when travel was a luxury. We knew all the continental people. I mean, they're not even flying anymore. We knew all the Delta people. I mean, we knew, hello, Dr. Mintz, welcome aboard, Miss. And we didn't travel for, we didn't do economy, we did business class. Oh, we knew the ticket agents. We knew everybody. It was so wonderful. It was so easy. Check as many bags as you want. He'd have bags, I had bags. You enjoyed I see, this makes me happy because I'm remembering the good stuff. You enjoyed every aspect of traveling, and you loved sharing your exciting, adventurous life with me. My biggest decisions were what to wear and how many suitcases to take. You planned our trips 6 months in advance, and in 23 years, we never canceled or postponed one of them. Hi, David. I'm so glad you're here. You were known at the airports, on the planes, and in the hotels and the restaurants. And because of your work with the military and the oil companies, we took many luxurious vacations as a fringe benefit, but we never padded the bills. He was brutally honest, and I was brutally honest. We never, ever did 1 cent that wasn't. In fact, I can back up. I got to tell you one more little story. I got plenty of time. We had a dog named Spearmints as a schnauzer. So we'd moved to Boca, and Jeff still had his practice in Houston, and with the oil companies, he had his contracts, and he had them with the military, so he was still flying out, and I was flying out with him. So one day, we were always in Chalmette. We were always in Louisiana. Stayed at the Maison Dupuy in New Orleans. Every 3 months, we went there for a week. So anyway, the dog's barking because we lived on a golf course then. The dog's barking. I'm watching soap operas, and all of a sudden the phone rings. So I pick it up, and he said, "Susan." I said, "Yes." He said, "It's Art Halliday from Arco, Atlantic Richfield." I said, "Art, how are you?" And he said, "Good, how are you?" Art Halliday was a vice president of Atlantic Richfield in Chalmette. I mean, think about it. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm talking to the vice president with the dog barking. That's the relationship. He says, "Susan, I got to ask you a question." He said, "We have contracts with a lot of people, but how come you always come in lower than we expect?" I mean, yeah. He said, "You never meet even what you're supposed to." I said, "Art, it's my fault because I will never abuse money." I said, "To work too hard to make it, and God's in charge of it, and I'll never abuse it. So we're good. You'll never get a bill that's too high." We talked for another half hour. This is the relationships we had with people. Jeffrey never was excessive, but he had excess, and I was always more frugal. So we balanced out. But here's the head, vice president of Arco calling me 2 o'clock, wondering why we never come in high. That was just something fun to tell you. After the pneumonia in June, so we can flip again. After the pneumonia in June 1992, it took you 6 months to recover and regain your strength. Even as you got stronger and were able to travel again, you still tired easily. It was obvious that you would not be able to travel the way you did before. This issue was one of the most devastating and depressing ones you had to face. We now took everything we did one day at a time. We had to be prepared, organized. I told you, organized, prioritize, and never took any chances. Where am I here? We could, never took any chances. We could have problems with the weather, eating and sleeping accommodations, car reservations or airline postponements, whether it was going to a movie that same day or planning a trip 3 months later. Our plans could change quickly without warning. You got tired, nauseous, and could have diarrhea for days. He was on very strong meds. You spiked 104-degree fevers overnight and became delirious. Sometimes you couldn't eat, drink, or even breathe. You were taking several medications that had serious side effects. Your immune system was compromised, and you were prone to numerous infections that could require immediate medical attention. I think that's about enough because I think that's all. I'll finish tomorrow. Well, this is a big one because we're going to get into a lot more. But what I want to say is the chapters, many of them that we went into, oh, you're welcome, David. Many of the chapters we went into were about focusing, prioritizing, and organizing. And I read to you that, I might even have to read the book again for new people. Or I might say, would you just go to my website, susanmintz.com, and cough up $22.95 and buy the book. All my Facebook readings will be uploaded at some point to my website under the books icon, which you still can go to the books page and read a lot. You can go to the media page and read a lot. And it'll go on a YouTube channel that I was told I have information on, but I don't know. But just get used to the fact that it's not, just a cold that you're going to get over in a few days. It's serious. When it's a serious illness, you have got to learn to rearrange your whole life around it. I said, don't let it control you, but don't try to control it. A devastating, life-threatening, long-term, very serious illness it's a beast, and it has its own life of its own. It'll give you challenges you never thought you could face. It will take you places you never thought you could go. It'll bring out everything in you don't want brought out, but it'll bring out so much in you. It'll bring out courage, strength, the ability to make decisions on the fly real quick. If you weren't a good decision maker and you had to, well, maybe this and maybe that or maybe this. But no, you will learn to make decisions real well. You're going to learn through my story that this lady is no different than 100 million of you right now. Boy, do I wish you were looking. I am no different. I was dealt a situation, then I was blessed with certain gifts and skills. Yes, my DNA, I told you, I am wired for focus. I am wired for discipline. I'm wired for organization. I'm wired for those strengths. I don't like uncertainty. I don't like other people's drama in my life. I mean, there's certain things I'm not good at. But the things I was good at, this illness made me get better. If I was a 10, this made me a 20. So learn and also cut yourself some slack. I always say that to people. Don't be so rough on yourself. It's okay if you're not up to par on every single decision. You can only try the best. You can only try. But please cut yourself some slack, and you have to take care of yourself. That's one of the chapters. I had to truly learn to take care of myself physically, emotionally, not just in words. These chapters that are going to go on, they are so powerful. I mean, who will take care of me? We did that one. Facing my fears and future as a widow. Long-term plans were in that. And Jeff comforted me. I comforted him. That'll be 16. Frustration, setbacks, and disappointments. Taking care of myself. Laughing through the tears. I was angry and I hated myself. Coping. There's so much more. Please don't give up when you're halfway through right now. Even just go back. I labeled everything. Everything's dated from April 3rd all the way up to now. Or you can go back from now and go all the way back to April 3rd. Whatever you want. Everything is in order. The dates, the days, and the chapters. So, this has been a very interesting day for me too. What can I tell you? My days are long, but they're full. Make your days long and full. Full. Not full with drama and crazy stuff. Fill them up with stuff that's good. Even if they're hard, even if it's hard days, do something good with them. Do something good for yourself. God bless you all. And my goddaughter, Nikisha Lester, and my agent, if you want to get in touch with me for that movie deal or the Netflix series or something else, you can also contact on my Contact Me page. My agents are the Young Brothers, and they will handle any information. You can call me, of course, but I will refer you to the Young Brothers as my agents. Y-O-U-N-G Brothers, and you can see that down on my Contact Me page. So I shall say, shalom, hello, shalom, goodbye, and shalom, peace. Be kind. Be a little more patient. Boy, could I have used that today. I was not patient today with a few people. Bad girl. And would you please call somebody you love and tell them you love them? All right? Before there was text, we had something called a phone. And it didn't get static. Well, it did if the birds were sitting on the wires. You didn't get dropped unless you didn't pay your bill. You talked on the phone. I love you all so much for the birthday wishes, for your being so caring and sharing. Please share. You don't know whose life you might be helping. God bless you all, and I'll see you 5:30, the good Lord willing, tomorrow night. I gotta hit finish. I hit the light right. I wonder why it was so dark yesterday. I never hit the light right. My bad. Finish.